What's up, guys and gals? Welcome back to the Nerd Castle for Weekly Indie Newcomer, our Friday series where we hang out for a little while and talk about a game that's been on my radar over the course of the last week. Sometimes games come along like Out There Omega Edition, which I'm really not sure how to classify, but when going through for Weekly Indie Newcomer, I had played the game enough at this point to know that the game was a winner for me. And so if you don't know what Out There Omega Edition is, essentially Out There is a game where you wake up on a starship, and you have to find your way back to humanity. That's pretty much it. You've been floating through space in cryogenic pods for thousands of years. You got to make your way back home. That's the ultimate goal, and it's sort of just like the storybook adventures that unfold along the way. Now, the game focuses on mining and on drilling in order to make your way across the galaxy, and also on researching technologies and figuring out the language of the universe, because everybody else seems to speak a galactic common that you don't understand. And so there's a lot of interesting facets right here, and I think for people like that enjoyed infinite space and things like that, they'd probably like Out There very, very much. Additionally, if you liked FTL but you wanted to take the emphasis off the combat and more onto just experiencing the universe and just like a whole bunch of storyline and lore, then Out There's a pretty good game for you as well. There's no combat really to be spoken of. There are merely events that you read through almost like a choose your own adventure. And so anyways, before I waste too much time talking about what the game is, how about I do what we came here to do and I will just show you. Let's get out there, shall we?
I'm an astronaut aboard the Nomad. Passenger on a line that connects Earth to Ganymede, a moon of Jupiter. Until something happened. When I awoke from Cryonics, I wasn't in orbit around Ganymede. In fact, I wasn't even in the solar system anymore. I was out there.
Okay, and so since I know how to play the game, we're just going to jump straight into it. The tutorial is it's not a long tutorial, but it does a really, really good job at letting you know how to play the game. Like, seriously, you can play through the tutorial in a couple minutes, and it should have you all squared away, but there are little things that you have to figure out along the way that aren't explained if you don't do the tutorial, so I highly recommend it on your first go. Let's play the game, shall we? It's going to give us our little animation right here like it always does. It does this every single time you start up. I wish you could actually skip this animation right here, because after the 30th or 40th death, because it's much like FTL in that you can play the game for like 5 minutes, die instantaneously, and have to start over. I don't know. I wish there was a way to disable all the animations. There is disabling the travel animations, but anyways, welcome to Out There. This is pretty much the game as you would expect it. And so we start out in our little ship, which is inside, well, where are we right now? We don't really have a name for any of these places, but we're around this little star right here, and it looks like there's something along the sides. So let's go investigate, shall we? It's a space station that allows us to resupply, which is important. Anytime you find one of these floating around, it'll refill one of your three main attributes: fuel, oxygen, or hull. If any of those go down to zero, you guessed it, you are dead as hell. You are iced, my friend. So let's go down in here and see what's up. What's it going to give us? It's going to give us oxygen, which is not necessarily that helpful. I actually would have preferred the fuel, but it is what it is. So now we can click on any location. The game very much plays like a mobile game, and in fact, I think it is a port of the mobile game, but it's been upgraded for the PC. It actually has like animations, and it looks a lot prettier. I've seen it compared. We can go to this yellow dwarf right here, and it's going to cost us 16 fuel, and it's going to cost us 5 of our oxygen in order to make it over there. In addition, if we wanted to look at our ship, we've got a number of things inside. Namely, we've got ourselves some hydrogen, some oxygen, some iron, but for right now, I'm going to refer to these as humorous names. And so we've got 20 ovals, we've got 10 hats, and we've got 16 feet, and that's how we're going to make it through the galaxy. Helium is used for fuel. You can see it denoted up in the top what they're used for. In addition, there are other elements like thorium and barium and just about everything else you could ever wish for in a chemistry class that will allow you to click on these slots right here and add new parts to your ship that will make your life a lot easier. In addition, you can use these as general purpose storage slots. I would recommend doing that for right now. The first ship is not so good, and you're probably going to get rid of it very, very early on. Your ship has a number of different things, namely power, which is how much it can support in here. It's got ecosystem, which is how efficient it is with your oxygen, as I recall, and resistance, which determines how much damage you take when you go into dangerous events. Let's get out of here. I don't want to be in this part of the solar system anymore. Normally I go right, so this time I go left to this one, so we'll go to this one right here. This yellow dwarf will hopefully supply us with some of the things we're going to need in order to jump a couple systems. And so off we go. I've been sleeping for a long time. The ship briefly fell into orbit around an electromagnetic anomaly that messed with the ship's main computer and kept me in stasis a couple of days longer than expected. Well, at least I've had some rest. So we've lost oxygen there. That's going to be our event. Every time you zone into a system, you get a little event. Sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad, sometimes you get a choice, sometimes it's just happenstance and you blunder into something. It doesn't really matter. Either way, you're going to have to deal with the consequences of these random storyline segments. Otherwise, you're not going to make it very far into the galaxy. Let's go to this gas giant over here. Now watch our hull. It's rich in fuel, but it's a risky orbit. We may get into trouble here. So we took 9 damage, which is really, really good by comparison to how this typically goes. So let's probe the gas giant. And right here you get to choose how much fuel you want to use. If you notice the color of the bar right there, the color of the bar is how much risk is associated in using that much. This is essentially how hard you're running this component. And so red means that it has a higher chance to break, whereas green means that you're totally safe. Obviously the take on what you're going to get out of farming the location is going to be better or worse depending on how much you use too. I tend to go with 7 and just kind of like see what happens. And so we got 14 helium, which is very, very good, or 14 severed heads, and then we got 7 hats. That's pretty good. I'll launch it again. And so we got ourselves a few more human heads and another couple hats. So there it is. We'll finish off right there. That should be just about all that we need from the location. If you wanted to refuel, you can see right here that we're almost out. And so what I'd like to do is we're actually going to fuel ourselves. We get 2 fuel for each helium that we use. And so let's load some hats on into the fuel cells right there. And yep, who would have known that in the future we fuel everything with hats? It's amazing. That's the best way to get ahead of the situation right there. We've also got some heads right here, or helium. I could call them heels, or you know, heaps, whatever you want to call them. Either way, you get 4 from these, so these are far more useful. And since we've got 32 missing, we could load in 8 right here, and that'll probably make it work pretty well. There we go, or 6 even. That's fine. I can't do math very well. Arithmetic, never a strong point. Let's load in a couple of our ovals so that we can keep on breathing. Our hull's looking okay, but we'll load some feed into that just to make sure that it stays nice and intact. And then on this other side, we're going to go back over here to the rocky planet, and we're going to land because we need to do some mining while we're here. I'm going to drill this as hard as I can, and there's a reason in doing this. It's actually a little bit overpowered. We may burn out the drill, but look at our take right here, and it's actually really, really cheap for you to fix the drill, so it's not that big of a deal if you break or destroy it. So I tend to run the drill very, very hotly. You want to be careful about running the probe in the same way because the probe, well, it requires iron to heal, so I guess you could run it like that if you wanted to. It's not that bad. But if the probe breaks, I think the probe costs you platinum, but I think it gives you platinum when I'm clicking on the wrong things right there. There we go. It gives you the platinum though when it breaks, so you might be able to make it work. Just make sure that you've got an empty spot for the platinum before you run the probe at maximum. We got some thorium out of there, which is pretty cool. I like to call those happy thoughts. TH stands for happy thoughts. And so now we've got 17 happy thoughts that we can build stuff with. Silica might be nice. And so we'll take, I'm not going to take a full stack. Well, we'll take a full stack, and I guess we'll jettison if we need to. That'll work out. We'll take off for right now. Now that we're back in orbit, there's a couple things we need to take care of. Let me fix my drill real fast. It's going to cost us 1 iron, not that big of a deal. I'll probably also go all in on... Yeah, let's refuel. That leaves us with 20 fuel left that we can use. If we want this slot right here, what we could do is at this point we could make cryonics, which will actually lower the amount of oxygen we use when we jump in between systems. But cryonics, I'd rather save it for something else. I would highly recommend that you land on every planet because there's a chance when you land that you'll get an event as well. And those events can actually land you very, very lucrative technologies that will make your life so much easier as you try and get your way across the galaxy. If you're wondering, this animation, you can disable it if you want. I don't really know where I'm going, where my second jump will send me. If I arrive too close to a neutron star, oops, I guess. That's why I record my log entries before the arrival. Then you say that if I jump into a neutron star, nobody will be able to read my log anyways. Well, screw you. Okay, so we've got a habitable planet right here. We've got a garden planet, which is pretty cool, just in case you wanted to get yourself down there and have some amazing, amazing breadsticks. That would have worked out better if it was an Olive Garden planet. Then again, but you know the weight. The breathable atmosphere always refills your oxygen. Then again, you know that if it was a like Olive Garden planet, you got to wait 45 minutes before you get a seat anyways. Let's see here. Let's encounter life, shall we? He looks a little beaky and a little unfriendly, but he's got an omega symbol on his forehead. Magton urhala madauran magton urarba sugase guelro. Guelro iras dudaho. Apparently we know that it's a question right there. We have to choose whether we approve or disapprove. And this is basically just a 50-50 shot. Since we haven't learned any language right now, we'll just have to take a shot at it. Yes? In bata urhala madauran, in bata urhala ulasil. In bata il raz. There's no vowels in that word. How do you pronounce a word with no vowels? In bata urar balidasu. I like saying the words. They make me happy. Anyways, we'll give him some iron. That's a good idea. The alien seems to like your gift. So, you've learned new words. Armon means technology. Uruksa means death. Lidasu means omega. Or Ikrarma means iron. So now we know the words for iron, omega, death, and technology. And he gave us an omega element. Omega elements are very, very important. You can think of them as a sort of like an amorphous element that can become any other element. And so this is like a lifesaver. If you're in a situation where you need to repair a piece of equipment, but you don't have the right element in order to repair it, the Omega will take care of that for you. So you really kind of want to stockpile these and hold on to them. We also learned a new technology, interferometer. Okay. Well, that went pretty well as far as that can go. I mean, that's about the best result we could have asked for. Let's take a look at our ship and make sure that the Omega is stored. In addition, if you run out of, like, fuel, oxygen, or hull, you can load Omega into any of these and it will give you 25, which is enough to bail you out in a lot of the situations, so keep that in mind as well. For the interferometer, it requires gold. I call those aubergines though, so we got to find ourselves some eggplants in order to get this working right. This scanning device identifies all objects orbiting distant star systems. Might be very, very useful. That's the sort of thing that'll keep you from jumping into a bad system and getting whacked on impact or whacked on coming out of warp, so it might be a good idea, but we don't have any gold. So what I would recommend is maybe drill down here, just see what we get out, and there's the gold right there that we would require in order to get the job done. If we wanted to, we could also stack up some oxygen for later just to make sure that we don't suffocate, because as I understand with human beings, we tend to require oxygen in order to get the job done, whatever our human job is. A little bit of carbon right there as well. I call it carpets though. So we've got carpets in there, ovals and carpets, which is pretty cool by me. I also like to spell things with my elements. I don't know, like right here it says Sith. I tend to do that. It says Fessy right there. I don't think that means anything. You got Fifi right there, which is Bay Area slang for methamphetamine. Yay, got Fifi in our ship. Hooray. Let's leave, shall we? We'll take off right here. And I think that what I'd like to do for right now is let's orbit the gas giant. That's going to do 17 damage to our hull, which does need to be repaired. That is something that we need to get on top of. But we needed to clear out space for the stuff we're going to be using anyways in here, so I think that's going to work out well for us. I think we'll go all in right there. Let's get our Fifi replaced right there. We got rid of the Sith. The Sith are off of our ship. I don't see anything else that I can spell right now. I could do like Siao, which I bet is like a word in Polynesian or something. We can go CO if we wanted to, but then again, this is not a spelling game, so maybe we should not worry about it for right now. Let us probe. Well, we destroyed our probe, which was expected. These sorts of things tend to happen. It gave us platinum to make up for it, though, so we should be able to build ourselves another one. However, for right now, that's a lot of fuel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to eject the silica, and we'll take a 20 stack of that, and we'll take the 19 stack of helium for right now, and then we'll finish our job right here. There's not going to be anything else that we can probe for the moment. And so what I would recommend doing is maybe the thorium will be useful later on. Let's use the Omega for fuel for right now. I know that's a stupid use of it, but I'm going to use it for that right now, and we need to get our hydrogen probe back up and running. I also dislike that you can't move equipment around on your ship. I wish that you could, because I'm the kind of person that likes to organize the inside of my ship. So what are you going to do about it? I would prefer to do that, but if it's not available, it's not available. Let's go back out, and we'll take a look. We already went to the habitable planet, so let's bail out for right now. I think we'll probably try and shoot for that star right there. Oh, it's a black hole. Never mind. I don't want to go to... Ooh, there's only black holes around us? Black holes and supernovas, huh? Well, then that's not good. Let's go to this black hole then. Sometimes there's stuff orbiting black holes, but very, very rarely. Not even orbiting. Sometimes there's stuff holding position around black holes. Black holes don't do anything. Don't go near them. They're a bad prospect. It's not going to work out for anybody. You don't want to be near a black hole. Let's go to this red dwarf over here. Why he's red, I don't know. He appears to have gotten done with a triathlon or something. Either way, I'm just impressed he was able to finish it. So good for him, man. Good for him. Okay. I only spotted the black hole at the very last moment. Hidden in the outer edge of the star system. I went full throttle, but it wasn't enough. In the end, I had to eject quite a lot of tonnage to escape velocity. I don't have much left now, but at least I'm alive. Oh, with a big hit to our resources right there. So that leaves us low on fuel. And that was one of the random events right there you got to watch out for. Let me throw the helium, and then we'll throw some hydrogen in there. But yeah, we've got to... Let's get back to farming, because unfortunately that was our future-proofing plan, so we got to come up with some kind of backup plan for the backup plan right now, I guess. So what we'll have to do is we'll have to go to a gas giant. And let's put the probe in. Got ourselves a whole bunch of hydrogen out. Hats, if you will. And so now that we've cleaned out that one, what I'd like to do now is we'll go through and we'll take care of that. We'll talk about the randomness when I get to pros and cons. But yeah, there is a lot of random in this game. A whole lot of random. And so if that sort of thing gets to you, like occasionally it annoys me. Like every now and again I have to sit this game aside and just be like, nope, no more today. I'm done. Because apparently, like, sometimes you will get very close to finishing the game and then you'll just get dominated by some random event. And so it looks like over here, HF, is that hafnium? I don't know. I'm going to call it Hefners for right now. The solidified essence of Hugh Hefner. Yeah, it's hafnium. No, I don't really want to drop. Well, yeah, I don't need the hafnium right now, so why worry about it? I'll take the extra iron because we need to fix the hull. You also need to fix the drill. So we'll repair that real fast. We'll repair the remainder of the hull right there, which should use up a stack. That'll be nice and ready to go. We'll use up the remainder of our hats in order to get our fuel back up so that we can land on the other planet. Like I said, if you can land on a planet, you should always land on it because you might get technology out of it. You never know. So let's go over to this one right here and we'll see what we can get out of it. We are a little bit low on oxygen, but I think we have extra stores of it, so it should be okay. No events right here, although this planet definitely seems to be quite ballsy. Got lots of things floating around that are kind of threatening me. I don't know. Let us drill. We've got a little bit more thorium. We've also got W is watermelons. I think W was tungsten back in the day. God, it's been a long time though. Yeah, W is tungsten. I'll bring a stack of that along because we might need it. And I'll fill out the thorium stack too. I'm not going to bring the other with me though. We'll drop in some of the iron for later. We'll finish what we're doing right here. No events, oddly enough. We've hit a lot of planets right now, but still nothing interesting has happened. Let's go over to this gas giant. And what I want to do right now is I want to make sure that I have an empty slot in my inventory in case we melt down the probe. And so there's a little bit of oxygen. In addition, what I'd like to throw in is let's get ourselves refueled. Now that we're refueled, I'd also like to get ourselves repaired with regards to our hull. That's going to put a little bit back in, but I'm going to eject that because I don't want to waste the slot. Let's take the tungsten. We'll put it up right there. Our big old pile of watermelons, which is giving me the heebie-jeebies out the corner of the room. I'm allergic to watermelons, by the way. That's why they give me the heebie-jeebies. And while we're here, let's stock up on fuel for the future, shall we? And so we found a helium pocket on the planet and scooped up a lot of it. Always nice when the day starts off well. And there it is. Can I launch the probe again? No, I can't. Well, that's kind of future-proofed us a little bit. That's 64 fuel for the future. So there it is. Fuel for the future, which we just happen to be in. Let's go to this blue giant over here. I'm going to stay away from the neutron star for right now because as I understand, when a star goes into its neutron state, isn't that when it's collapsing because its mass became too great or whatever, so it starts to collapse in on itself or whatever? It's right before the star has like its big meltdown moment and like wipes out everything around it. I know that. It's not good. An astronomer, I am not. A geologist, you want to show me a shiny rock, I got your back, but astronomer, I don't have that. The space folder is made of alien technology. I know how to build it and fix it, but I don't know how it actually works. When I switch it on, it vibrates with a heavenly chant like a cosmic choir singing my death. Okay, that was unnerving. I don't know what that means, but whatever. Let's land on this garden planet over here and see if we can meet anybody. That'll refill our oxygen supply, which is always nice. Let's encounter life. Lekuran urbaba dudaho magton urhala anfarais. Lekuran irarba dudaho welro. Welro or Carfog. You know, I think we'd get some real mileage out of our carbo if we could figure it out. Something or death. Approve? The alien doesn't want to talk anymore. Sugase means love. Okay, well, that'll help out a little bit. He's got holes in his chest. He should probably be worried about that. Structural integrity seems to be damaged. Let us drill. Actually, I'm not going to drill right here. We don't need it. We got plenty of stuff for right now. Let's go to the next planet, and we'll check out... Let's go to the gas giant. We'll probably probe this out pretty hard. So sudden pressure has destroyed my probe. That's cool because we'll get the platinum back anyways. 35 hydrogen right there. Let's finish. Let's go all in. And obviously, I need to refill everything right here. Okay, there we go. That should actually get us squared away perfectly on fuel, and that leaves us with a little bit of surplus heads, too. So, we'll build ourselves another probe because we get the platinum back, and that's why we always keep excess iron around. Our hull's looking a little bit shaky right now, so I think we took a lot of damage when we came into orbit around the planet. We'll keep the rest of it ready to go, and we shall acquit ourselves of this place. Actually, let's go to the rocky planet real fast and see if we can find anything over here. Lots of boxing takes place on the rocky planet. However, nothing for us. We could drill. It's an option. A pleasant surprise. While drilling, I found a pocket full of fuel. It figures. It figures. It just figures. Let's get a little bit of silica right here. We'll get that locked and loaded in. No, give me the... I just want a little silica. Please come with me. I call those Sais. It's actually the essence of Gangnam Style. We bring him along. We've got 7 Sais on our ship right now. And it's just... That's not the right song. That's the different song. That's the song by Ellen Feo. Never mind, I got the wrong song right now. We can go over to the Blue Giant if you want to. It's kind of dangerous, though, and you can't do anything with it until you upgrade your probe. As of right now, this has kind of been a weird trip for us. There's a supernova over there. Black hole over there. God, imagine a universe where the neutron star is the best choice. Alright, well, let's just go after the neutron star, I guess, then. That'll work out. Not a lot of great choices right now. Not a lot of great choices. There's a ship here, slowly falling into pieces. Flames and lightning run over and into its structure. I put on my spacesuit and start exploring. Inside, everything is broken and useless. Computers have been burnt by some energy blast. A kind of big amoeba approaches slowly and weakly. It buzzes in on my radio comm. Azrafi Urarba death in Bata. Guelro Urarba death Azrafi. I approve. I mumble some alien words of peaceful meaning in my radio, but without much hope. The amoeba shivers and a very small shining cube levitates between us. A cube not unlike one I encountered at the very beginning of my adventure, and I take it. As the ship falls into pieces, I whisper a goodbye in my human words and return to my ship. Thereafter the ship's final explosion, I analyze the cube. Data. The legacy, incomprehensible, sadly, of a ship, or maybe an entire civilization. Between the lines, schematics. Maybe I can find something useful in all this. And so as you can see, the game has heartwarming moments where obviously he's the last survivor of his species, and he gave us the last legacy of his people. And you have those moments where if you stop thinking about this as a video game for just a moment, you start thinking of it in terms as a story, you know. That's a heavy moment right there. It's a very, very heavy moment where you say goodbye to a species that maybe nobody knew about and nobody will ever know about unless we arrive at our destination with this cube. And you start to see things crash together. We might be the last member of our species, now holding the only proof of the last member of his species, trying to make it to a final destination where there's kind of that grim irony in this situation where he gave the last hope of his people to the last hope of my people, you know what I mean? And so it looks like we've learned the word for evil, and we've learned the technology for solar sails. That's actually going to be very, very helpful because that will make our fuel use much more efficient. And so we want to build that as soon as we can. It looks like we have what we need. It takes 2 gold. Let's craft it. And so now we've got solar sails, which attach to our original interplanetary reactor. And so that should allow us to sail in between. I think what it does, these huge fractal stream panels can be deployed like sails. They capture photonic pressure, thus reducing fuel costs during interplanetary travel. They cannot be used without standard propulsion equipment. So what that means is if this goes out right here, we no longer have use of this, and so they are connected. The interplanetary reactor is pretty much one of the most useful things that you have. If something goes wrong with it, be assured it will cause you major issues. Let's land on the planet. We have nothing going on right here, and I don't think we have any extra space in our hold. We can go through right there, and we can repair a little bit, but we're a tad low on oxygen for right now, so I think we should probably just bail on out. And let's see if we can find ourselves another location where we can refill. There's a red giant there, and there's a blue giant there. Red pill or blue pill? Let's go for the red. I see millions of dead bodies floating around my ship. I know that I'm hungry and I'm thirsty and haven't enough sleep, and I've thus lost all trust in myself. Well, no locations over here that are going to be useful. We do have some extra fuel, so let's throw that in the tank for right now. I think we should probably go about trying to track down some oxygen before we go any further. We've got a yellow dwarf and we've got a white dwarf. Let's go to the white dwarf for right now. I'm going to skip because I think that's using up time. Drifting again in the dim, twinkling starlight. When space folds around me, my field of view contracts into a blinding white pinpoint of light. The whole universe is fully contained in this luminous disk. Actually, from an outside point of view, my ship should look like a point too. Perhaps some of these points of light I see in the starfield are not stars at all, but other travelers, hopelessly lost on their way home. The thought cures my loneliness, but only for a moment. Another planet right here. I mean, it doesn't have anything for us, unfortunately, so we should probably keep going on. Got a red giant on this side, and this looks like the safer area. Actually, let's go this way. A little bit low on oxygen. I check all my alien devices on a regular basis in order not to forget what I know. I talk to myself. Well, I talk to an imaginary self that watches over me. At times he tells me that I've forgotten something important. Sometimes, to my terror, it tells me things I've never actually known. Ooh, we got a ship adrift. Let's take a look. Oh, wow. Okay, so it appears to be some kind of fungal moon ship or something. We can take over it if we want to. Let's take a look. So the storage seems to be suitable. Has a planetary expander, which is very, very good for drilling. It's got a beacon. It's got some other things. It does have some storage space as of right now. And it has a shield, which is very, very important because that means that we can actually mine out the good stuff around gas giants without taking as much damage. However, it only has 4 slots that we can store things in. So I think that the storage goes down a little bit. However, it might not be a bad plan. Let's take the gold with us. The tungsten. A stack of iron. And we'll leave an empty stack over there. How's that sound? I mean, the solar sails, we keep our technology, so we can build the things that we already have. It would require us to destroy some of the technology that we have in order to get it going. A space folder. What does it take for us to make a space folder right now? Like, what technology does that require to make a space folder? It requires silica and iron. We're going to have to reposition that, so that's why I'm trying to figure it out right now. If we bring the silica along, we should be able to get that done, and then that'll allow us to make solar sails that'll attach to our planetary reactor, and then we can rebuild the space folder down here so that it can attach to something else with upgrades. We got 9, we got 12, so 13 versus 10. So we're losing slots right now, but we are getting a better ship, I think, out of the deal. It's got a better ecosystem, it's got better power, it's got higher resistances. It's not much, but I think it's worth it. Let's take over. And so there's our new ship. Ooh, I like the way its thrust looks. Like, oh, I'm glad you like it. Does that get you turned on? I'm like, whoa, calm down. Calm down right now. So solar sails. Gonna cost us a little bit to get that going. What I would recommend that you do right now is what we can do is let me put the tungsten back on board along with the gold. And what I want to do is I want to get rid of the interplanetary reactor. So I'm going to dismantle it. Confirm that. We'll build one right here. And then what we'll do is we'll put solar sails in next to it, which cost 2 gold. We're not leaving ourselves a whole lot of storage space, though, which is the downside. I may have to leave a lot behind here. I don't know. We may just sort of have to drift the way that we did before and just hope that the better ship is the solace that we need in order to get things done. We do have some really good stuff with us, so I'll take it for right now until later on. And I guess we'll leave it behind. Our initial friend is now just another piece of scrap floating through space. Let's land on the garden planet and we'll encounter life. Urse Bagu, love Guelro. Okay, so do we want... Let's disapprove. Let's go for love. The alien doesn't want to talk anymore, so he thinks that we're evil. We've learned the word for fear, which is Brelrim. Well, at least something came of this situation. That's the plus side here. Let's go ahead and take off. We'll go to the next garden planet. There's a lot of them here, so I think we've got a lot of ground to cover. We don't have a lot of fuel, though, so we want to be careful about this, and it might be worth it just to drill. Our planetary expander is now busted. It gave us oxygen and a ton of gold, though, just in case we needed that. We can repair that fairly cheaply, but we need copper in order to make it work, so it might be worth it to not drill so greedily while we're out here, because we might lose our planetary expander. Yeah, it gives you a better yield, I think, is what it does. Let's step out and see. Oh, there's no life here. Okay, so I guess that planet's done. We don't have a lot of fuel left, so I'm a tad worried about wasting all of this right now. Let's see if maybe we can jump somewhere else. It has no telescope. That's unfortunate. Alright, let me get rid of the drill. I don't think that we'll be able to... I'm going to get rid of the drill. We'll get rid of the copper. Let me give myself a telescope right now because we need that in order to see what we're jumping into. And so in transferring ships, I may have screwed myself right here. You can never quite tell. We'll go to the red giant first. I like the way the ship looks, though, and I wanted to show. On the surface of an ash-covered moon, I noticed a sort of amphitheater, maybe an arena dug into the rocks. The atmosphere is gloomy. Let's explore. I land on the moon. There's nothing on the surface but ashes. On the walls of the arena, a strange fresco is carved in stone. It depicts the story of a humanoid people whose son is devoured by a bird-like being. The people seem to flee in space aboard ships, and the ships contain cubes. I see the humanoids fighting against each other in the ships. Then I see some of them appear to pillage planets populated with other strange-looking aliens. Very mysterious. So we've lost fuel, but we've learned Urhala is people, and we've learned Urkarfik is friend. Okay, so we're piecing things together. As you've seen the game at this point, I think this is probably a really good spot for us to talk about the pros and cons, so let's get to it. Personally, I tend to really like and vouch for games that have their own theme or they walk their own path, and they have mechanics that haven't really been explored fully. And Out There Omega Edition, while games like this have existed over the last 20 years, I can think of a couple that were back in the Apple IIe days, it still falls into line with that expectation for me in a lot of ways. And so the PC revision is going to present the universe in a way which is equal parts dangerous and breathtaking, but if we really wanted to condense that down, I guess you could just say that it's literally and figuratively breathtaking, because you could die at any moment, and that's part of the charm of the game. At its core, it's a game about resource management and experiencing the path walked by just a guy who's lost his way in the universe, and to this extent, both graphically and thematically, I definitely felt personally like I was alone in that sojourn. The writing is equal parts sad, hopeful, and humorous, but never breaks the fourth wall, which is something that I really appreciated, because immersion is an important thing for this game, and it was at a peak for me when playing this game at 3 a.m. in the dark when the rest of my family had gone to sleep. Your average playthrough will more than likely last about 10 minutes to an hour, depending on whether you win or not, and with multiple endings to track down and lots of random events, you'll probably be flying through the stars for a long time to come with this title. It's not without a few rough edges, and people who strongly dislike RNG, I would probably not recommend it for them. While most problems in-game can be avoided by remaining prepared and just managing your resources and thinking about things that could go wrong in the future, occasionally an event or a series of events will come along that will just beat you down, take your lunch money, give you a wedgie, take a mud ball and throw it down in your underwear, and then leave you with no real way to recover. And so as an example for me, I spent my last iron last night to save my ship from dying after an explosion, and then on the exact next turn, I drew an event which killed my grav engine, which requires me to use iron in order to fix that, and without iron you can't fix the grav engine, but without the grav engine you can't get iron, and so you see it was kind of just a death spiral. And so there will also occasionally be weird star configurations where you'll hit a dead end, or you'll hit a configuration of stars where it's just black hole, black hole, black hole, where you can't really get anything out of them, and so you run out of oxygen or something else goes wrong, although I suppose that's part of the game as well. RNG can go in the other direction, and I found amazing ships and fantastic loot 2 stars into the game, which allowed me to breeze through without much effort at all, so it does go both ways, but little things like that can definitely frustrate people if they happen in short succession, but I think by and large I've enjoyed my time with Out There Omega Edition. So if you wanted to check it out, if you're a fan of FTL, Infinite Space, Starflight, Star Trek, anything along those lines, I'd highly recommend it. It's $9.99 on Steam right now. The game was made by Miklo Studio, and honestly, I think that titles like this should be supported, so it's been my pleasure. This is Weekly Indie Newcomer, the Friday series, where we hang out and play a game that I've been playing over the course of the last week or so. I hope you enjoyed it. Today's game is called Out There Omega Edition, which is the PC revision and upgrade of a mobile title, as I understand it. And so I will see you all later. Take care, everybody, and hi-do. I'll see you next week.